People of Norway, please listen. I speak to you not as a guest in your land, but as a woman who has watched your silence with growing sorrow, I will say. Let me give you some background. I come from a continent where we know what it means to lose our dignity, to be vampirized, not only by our own governments, but by Western governments as well, and by multinational conventions and agreements that suck our resources, suck our life forces, suck our joy of living, and leave us with the traumatism of the contradiction of knowing that on one side, we are the richest continent on planet Earth. Still, on the other side, we find ourselves among the poorest population in the world. Illogical, right? Yes, but with the simple explanation of passivity and cowardness from letting happen treaties and agreements that didn't serve us, but vampirize us. For years, Africa waited, hoping that Western governments will finally have a conscience and will voluntarily end their shameful exploitation. It never happened. Bravo! Bravo! There are now many African countries rising from their brokenness and saying to their governments, to Western governments and multinationals, enough. African countries understood that vampires will never stop sucking, as that's what keeps them alive. African countries understood that it is up to them to put an end to all resources sucking. Well, while I am witnessing a rise in power in many African countries, I am also observing a fall into powerlessness in Norway. I look around and see people, the people of Norway, one of the richest countries in the world, falling more and more into poverty, unable to pay their electricity bills and mortgage, unable to save money, drowning in debt, with food lines getting longer and longer from a population struggling to feed themselves properly. Illogical, right? Yes, but with the simple explanation of passivity and cowardness from letting treaties and agreements that don't serve Norwegians, but vampirize them. EES, EU, NATO, World Health Organization Treaty, ACER, and more. Honestly, what do you think you are doing? You were once the guardians of honesty, fairness, of fierce independence. But today, I see a population numbed by conformism and controlled by a quiet fear. You obey, you adjust, you fit in. You watch your government fail you. You watch your government lie to you, bleed your resources, mock your intelligence, and still you bow your heads and whisper, "Sånn er det bare." No. Let me say what some of you are too polite to say. Dear Norwegian, your government is becoming a curse. A curse to the country, a curse to you, a curse to your children. How does that feel to hear that? Because that's the ugly truth. Your politicians have become a curse. They sign agreements, hide key information, rushed into deadlines and participated in what is experienced now in your daily life, dear Norwegian, as a financial curse, as an imprisonment curse, and a future curse to the younger generation. How does that feel to hear that? I know how it feels to be born as a generation cursed by colonial agreements and banditry disguised as treaties. Africa is still trying to solve problems caused by the curse of contracts made 50 years ago. The EU, the World Health Organization Treaty, and the ACER agreements that were signed yesterday are already showing up as your present and future curses. Curses served to you by your government and your politicians. They no longer serve you. They manage you for the benefit of the people they serve. They no longer represent you. They restrain you for the benefit of the people they represent. And still, you put your hands before your eyes and refuse to see her. You silence your doubt because deep down, you know. You water down your anger because deep down, you know. Yes, I know that you know. And you know that you know. Your teen bank account, your incasso voucher, and everything you hear is telling you that you know. But you don't dare to say a word because the neighbor might be disappointed to see you leave the church of the true followers of the myndighetene. So you keep your mouth shut and try to fit in. You trade your courage for acceptance. But I will tell you this, fitting in is not the same as belonging. You do not belong to this system. This system is evil, wicked, deceitful, and manipulative, with plans so dark that they required 60 years of secrecy on key events that impacted the country and the world. These 60 years of secrecy alone should be reason enough for you Norwegians to force the door and demand to know what they wanted to keep secret for 100 years, until they were sure we were all dead. Aren't you embarrassed by your level of cowardness in the face of such an insult? You do not belong to a system designed to enslave you. You belong to each other, to truth, to justice, to equality. You do not belong to a future that is slipping away with every silent nod. This is not the time to be agreeable. This is not the time to blend in. This is the time to stand up, to rise with the fire that once burned in your grandfathers, the strength that once lived in your mothers, who were among the very first women who obtained the right to vote. Brave women. This is the time to say enough. Enough with politicians who think the people exist to serve them. Enough with secrets, stolen futures, and engineered confusion.
One of the most fundamental tenets of the New World Order created in 1945 was the respect for international recognized borders.
En New World Order, det noe spredt som funnet opp av konspirasjonsteoretikere.
Dear Norwegian, you must dare to confront. You must dare to disrupt.
The young global leaders are involved in redesigning our world. We are part of the larger picture of the World Economic Forum's Global Redesign Initiative.
Dear Norwegian, you must dare to demand that those in power, let us say, answer to the people again. They do or step aside forever. You are not helpless. You are not voiceless. You are not too late. That's still your blessing. Do not wait for others to fix this. Be among the saviors of your land. Because if you don't, no one else will. Don't be like Africa, which wasted years appealing to the consciousness of Western governments. In your case, the EU, the World Economic Forum, are not worth waiting for. They have no pure consciousness to call to. Because if the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the EU had a good consciousness, they wouldn't come up with these ideas, proposal, and coercion they come up with. Nothing good comes from sewers. When I travel back to Africa, people ask me where I live. I answer Norway. They reply, "Oh, the country of the redoubtable Vikings." I smile, an embarrassed smile. For if they knew that in Norway, the only redoubtable things left are Norwegian naivety and passivity. It's embarrassing. But I tell you, invoke and channel the courage of your ancestors. Let the fire begin in your chest. Let it burn through the lies. Let it light the way forward. And if your government has become a curse, then it is your duty, dear, your right, and your sacred calling to break that curse. Break that curse and build something worthy in its place. That's a dugnad I will gladly contribute to. But this dugnad is not a genocidal one, but a dugnad where a whole population stops giving their resources and life forces to economic non-elected vampires, but send them instead to the hell in which they belong. Dear Norwegians, if you don't stand today, the people who are signing contracts on your behalf will throw you into hell, and you are already sweating from the heat, huh? Change the narrative and stop calling them the elites. Come on. Stop calling them the leaders and start calling them by what they are. The psychopaths, the vampires, the corrupt ones, the chaos bringers. And then you will see that entities like that have no business speaking, signing, or leading on your behalf. So wake up, because you deserve it. Wake up.